Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen up, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are talking about the Bitcoin markets, the crypto markets, and we're going to just mark some stuff up because, Bitcoin has tried to move a little crazy today, just a random spike. Big shout out to Uber Eats for sponsoring this video. First 50 people get $20 off their first 2 meals, which means you can literally eat for free. Just use the code on your screen or the link in the description below. Up to $106,000. We can see Bitcoin is almost at its all-time highs, right? Bitcoin did reach its all-time highs of 109, let's just say 109,500. So we're only roughly 5,000 away from that, right? If we were to take a measuring tool to put up here, we're just a 4.5 to 5% pump away from breaking the record. And ladies and gentlemen, I like I'm so excited. You don't realize how excited I am for this bull run, for this altcoin season, just for everything to finally be playing out. Okay. Here is the deal. Um, you know, we will cover the micro move in a second, but on the larger scale, right, everything is going according to plan. A couple months ago, right, practically a year ago, we were mainly retesting off the highs, right? We got very, very nice pumps, created a new all-time high, pulled back, right? We talked about on this channel that, hey, we were looking for pullbacks. And then we are just saying how this is going to most likely, like 99% sure, going to be a higher low than these, right? Because the low was here, this was a higher low, and it's a very bullish one too. And now we expect to be creating a higher high than this, and overall just to continue to staircase up. Okay, that is overall the general message, right? Even if we go to something like the 3 month candle, it looks absolutely fantastic. Okay, it looks absolutely fantastic. When there are warning signs, you do get different monthly candle or 3 month candles. So if we go and take the arrow here, this one over here, right? Boom, absolutely failed. This one 100% should have been, you should have been, oh, like that's a terrible 3 month candle. This one is already kind of warning signs that there's going to be some kind of exhaustion, but this one was definitely like, hey, reversals are about to happen. And guess what? Boom, right? And ever since then, it's just been looking super, super pretty. Overall, we've got the bigger picture right. The only thing we got wrong was just the timing of how long we are going to be retesting on the all-time highs. Because I remember people were saying, oh no, like, this is so bad. People were saying, oh, we're going to pull back to 40K, 30K. And I was saying, hey, like fundamentally, it didn't make sense, especially that this 3 month candle back in April closed above the last all-time highs, right? Above the candles, right? Above the candles, at least, not necessarily the wicks, but the candles. And then, we were just monitoring things, and things were just going very, very solid, right? I mean, things were going very, very solid. And then we started to pump up. And again, when we got this 3 month sell, there was nothing convincing saying, hey, we're reversing, right? This is why I follow what the market shows and not narratives. There's so many news events that happened, even the tariffs, this tariff, that. I mean, it was just all noise. It's just a game of chess. That's why I don't really care too much, right? There's only specific news events I'm looking for, warning signs I'm looking for, but overall, it's just mainly noise. Um, and yeah, we did exactly what was supposed to happen. And then in the beginning of April, we said, hey, we're going to be taking out this 3 month candle, right? The last liquidity sweep, little bait before we start pumping up. And that is exactly what is going to be happening. Now, overall, right, we still have a month and roughly 2 weeks left to go, but I do think we're going to close very, very strong by the end of this. I think at the minimum, we should be closing above $100,000 over the next couple of weeks. And, some people might think, oh, that's slow, that's not that good. But you got to remember that we are at a point where if we do start kind of consolidating and retesting, right, let's just say off of this zone, that means most likely the next couple months we are ready to really spring up. And we could go even upwards of 150, 160K this cycle, right? We know there's going to be a lot of money this cycle, ladies and gentlemen, right? If we look at the total market cap, we are at 3.24 trillion. 3.24, right? Very, very, very impressive. Very, very good. Last time, sorry, not last time, it is expected that we could even potentially go up to 16 trillion. Portfolio reviews, economic and global updates and news, frequent up-to-date technical analysis, and a very supportive community. Sell and buy calls and trading education is provided. If that sounds good to you, now is the time to act. Once the markets start moving, there is no I should have, coulda, woulda. Now is the time. If you want to take things to another level, we have the blueprint that covers everything from A to Z in crypto that you need. No fluff, no bullshit, just the most important news, fundamentals, and technicals to have you succeed in these markets. In this cycle, now is 16 trillion guarantee? No, not necessarily. Could it require a double pump? Absolutely, right? It could happen in a double pump and it would most likely require a double pump. But there are key levels like 16, 12, right? If we go to like 9 trillion, if we go to like 6 trillion, right? Those are all very, very good and high likely possibilities that we will be hitting those. Now, 6 trillion, I think we're guaranteed. 9 trillion, I think it is a pretty good chance. I'm looking personally to see how we react between 6 and 9 trillion, right? Even if we use something like a Fibonacci tool, which has been historically fairly accurate, if we take it from the tops to the last relevant bottoms, boom, right? And then we flip. And the reason why this is the last relevant bottom is because, ladies and gentlemen, right, it is going off of these highs, right? So it just makes more sense. We can see, right, the 1.6 is usually way too earlier. 2.2 to 3.2 is the more realistic area. And we can see that is from 7.5 trillion upwards of 10.5 trillion. So if we were to top out somewhere here, even in the first pump, if we do have a double pump, who's complaining at a 9 trillion, market cap crypto? Altcoins are going to go absolutely crazy. Right now, we can see we talked about Bitcoin dominance last time. If you guys listen, right, we said, hey, look, things are reversing. Things are reversing, and we can see that. We talked about it. We broke structure, right? We broke this structure above here, right? We never had a lower low formed, right? We never went below this low. We created a higher low, and all we're doing is now just being fundamental, right? So we saw the shift of momentum, right? We retested off the 62% like we said, like we were talking about over the last, probably 2 to 3 weeks at this point. So very fundamental pullback. Really, really excited to see how everything plays out. This was really, really quick. I just don't really want things to get stalled out here. They possibly might, but overall, I expect Bitcoin dominance to just continue shooting up higher and higher. Here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen, right? The higher it goes, the harder it's going to fall, which means the bigger the pump for altcoins, which is ultimately what we care at the end of the day, right? We care about altcoins. Most of us, I know some of us might hold crypto and stuff, but altcoins are where a lot of money will be formed. Now, if we go to something like the others chart, we can see that we completely engulfed this candle. So we are kind of below the zone we should have retested. And I will continue to monitor this because there may be a chance that we do go to the 6.50 zone, which may mean, altcoins might have a decent type of retracement. It may very well mean that, hey, ladies and gentlemen, all right, the final opportunity for cheap prices, I mean, final opportunity may be around the corner. But yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know which altcoins you have. Let me know which altcoins you're accumulating, dollar cost averaging, and etc. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.